Welcome back. Last time we talked about Connery's first five films, and well, like I said, You Only Live Twice is a really great James Bond movie. There's lots of action, great set pieces, and an awesome villain. Um, but it came to a point where it was really campy and it needed to be toned down a little bit. And yeah, that's what On Her Majesty's Secret Service does. I'm gonna be going really in depth for this film, so brace yourselves. Connery had a reason to leave after You Only Live Twice, and it is mainly because of, he doesn't want to be typecasted as just a character like James Bond. He wants to expand his filmography. He was having some troubles with Harry Saltzman, one of the main producers besides Cubby Broccoli, and he got so popular in this role that it was overwhelming with the paparazzi and everything. So yeah, I understand why he left. And so they casted a new guy, George Lazenby, who was often considered the worst actor or James Bond actor ever. And while I agree with that, because the other ones were so great, for a male model, Lazenby's actually a lot better than you would think. I actually don't hate him in the role. He's actually pretty good at times. I mean, obviously he's not as good as Connery, but it's hard for anyone to fill the shoes of Connery, and Lazenby did it okay. I think the big issue here is that the material is just too much for him. Had his first film been You Only Live Twice or Diamonds Are Forever, I think he would have fit in the role a little more. He's up against Diana Rigg, a very brilliant and wonderful actress playing the second woman technically to win James Bond's heart. And I think that that's just such a heavy story, and there's a lot of talking and everything that Lazenby just wasn't ready for it yet. Had he done a few more films, maybe he would have gotten into the role more, would have made it a little more of an engaging story or performance. But something he is really good in is his action scenes. He's very believable, and yeah, he has some great fights in this movie. He had one in the opening and in a hotel room and just all over the place. Whenever he was on screen fighting, I was always attached to the screen, and I gotta give him a lot of credit for that. Someone great in this film was Telly Savalas as Blofeld. Blofeld was previously played by Donald Pleasance, but I actually think that Telly Savalas did a little bit of a better job. Um, well, both of them fit the movies they're in, and while Donald Pleasance is one of my favorite actors, and Kojak, Telly Savalas isn't. I know naturally I should say Pleasance is better, but Telly Savalas just played Blofeld the way I like Blofeld to be played, and I really dug him in this movie. He had a great scene with Lazenby. Big plot hole here, though, is that it seems like when him and Bond first meet up, like it was ignored and You Only Live Twice. And you can say, well, the code name, but no, it's not true. People bring up the code name theory with this, but really, I just think that because I hadn't seen Bond in a few years, and he obviously looks different. I think it's because he's Hillary Bray, he's disguising himself. Doesn't remember the face exactly, or maybe he's just playing messing with him. And so that's just my excuse. I mean, it's one scene and he realizes it's Bond, so yeah, I just kind of go with it. It's one of the things I don't like about the movie, but you know what? I'm able to get away with it because I still haven't expressed my thoughts about this movie yet. This is honestly one of my favorite James Bond films ever. I mean, people say it's slow, Lazenby sucks, everything sucks, whatever. They can think what they want, but honestly, I think that this was a great story based on what's arguably the best Ian Fleming novel. And I think this is one of the best because it blends excellent action sequences along with a compelling love story. This is my favorite romance film of all time because I'm not a big fan of romance and mushy mushy whatever, but this is a sincere love story that I find to be very engaging. As a James Bond film, it's great and it's a more personal story, and I always like it when Bond films have that kind of stuff, like character development and a good story and a good mix of good over the top action that we've come to see from the series, along with a compelling story. And I think that On Her Majesty's Secret Service blends all those Bond elements with a great story. Lazenby's a little wooden at times, and the whole Blofeld thing isn't my favorite thing in the world, but the only real issue I don't like is that, like, a midsection of the film, he goes to Blofeld's hideout as Hillary Bray and he starts shagging some of these women, and I wish that they would have used that time for more chemistry with Diana Rigg and kind of just ignored that part because the whole hypnosis thing, I didn't care about it. I mean, and the story's still great, and, it's a good villain plot, but still, just wish it would have been out of the film. My all-time favorite Bond girl is Diana Rigg as Contessa or Tracy, because the thing I love about the story is just at the beginning, Bond's actually getting paid by the father to, like, fall in love with her and marry her, and he's gonna give her money, but then he actually falls in love with her. He realizes this is a great person because she wants to commit suicide. She hates her life, but they each find strength in each other. It's just a sincere love story. You're not going to hear me say that a lot, but this is a love story that I think is so well done, and it makes the ending really sad because, it doesn't end the way you would think it would. And, I mean, there's other films where, like, it's mushy, mushy love, but the dialogue here is clever and good love dialogue. It's not over the top or anything. It actually feels real. It feels like a real relationship, and Rigg is just excellent. It's got a great car chase, great fight scenes, a awesome climax, and even one of my favorite ski sequences. On Her Majesty's Secret Service is one of my favorites in terms of action, good plotting, and yeah, just everything here is great other than, a few little things, but they're easily blown away by what is one of my favorite Bond stories, and I still gotta read the book by Ian Fleming because this is just a fantastic movie. I love it. It's really hard for me to explain what I don't like about this film without spoiling anything from Her Majesty's Secret Service, but what I will say is I wish they would have taken a more serious approach on making this film, something a little more gritty, and I wish Lazenby would have been here, but Connery's great. He came back with, like, a huge paycheck, so he's a little lacking, but I think Diamonds Are Forever has some decent action sequences, a pretty decent story, and, it's never boring, so I gotta give it credit, but it's a little lacking. Charles Gray's Blofeld here, and something I've failed to mention is that Blofeld's one of the best villains of all time, at least when he's played by the first two actors. Here, he's just a little different than he usually is, but Charles Gray's fun to watch. He's not the worst. The Bond girls are okay. They're pretty lacking here, too. This movie, it's one of my least favorites, but I don't hate it or nothing. There are just elements about it that I'm like, oh, okay, really? This moon buggy chase, it was really over the top and looked like something from the Roger Moore era, and I just didn't like it. I mean, it has a good car chase in the movie. It's got an awesome elevator fight scene. It's one of my favorite parts of the film. The opening title sequence is really good, and the climax is pretty good, and Connery is looking a little great, but he's still good in the role. I mean, come on, he's Sean Connery. He's my all-time favorite actor. He's always good as James Bond, even when he's looking wrinkly. He does look like he's having fun here, and he did good in the elevator fight scene, which, like I said, is one of my favorite parts of the film, if not my favorite part of the film. There's some parts of the story I really like, but overall, Diamonds Are Forever is not terrible or nothing. It's not a bad movie, but I just don't love it like I love the previous installments. So now we're done with the Connery era, so now it's time to get into the Roger Moore era in the next video.